on your Fluke. And which team do you think is going to get the first blood out of this one? Who has more aggression in the earlier part of the game?
I definitely think iG.V have the easier way of finding kills early on. You know, Jakiro, Vengeful Spirit, and Disruptor, they all have amazing spells from level 1s all through to 6. So it's going to be a lot easier for them to find the kills as well. I just don't know if they've got the tank ability. Like, Tax playing this Vengeful Spirit, I'm going to be scared if he doesn't have a decent start and he has to, you know, kind of fall back and spend like 5-10 minutes where he has to sit back and farm this Ags or farm his like first aura item. But I've seen Venges kind of pop off before, especially against some of these much more passive lanes. I really don't like Abaddon as a 5. I think currently in the meta he can be abused pretty hardcore, especially up against Disruptor, Vengeful Spirit. Like, all they have to do is you know, misposition the Invoker, the Death Prophet, or the Monkey King away from the Abaddon, and what's he gonna do? Like, unless he builds a Blink Dagger, his positioning is gonna be super important here on Chola, and I feel like even if his positioning is perfect, he still has to deal with things like glimpse and swaps that are going to put his cores in bad positions.
The annoying spells as they were. Let's see how things end up going here as we go into game number 1. Supernova 2-2 trade is going to be fine. iG.V get 2-2 as well. Really interested to see how this mid lane is also going to pan out. The Pangolier versus the Invoker. I imagine that normally you get like poked a lot by Pango, but I imagine that with this Invoker, once he starts getting the quad orbs, he doesn't really care too much. It'll just be taking life quite easy in this mid lane.
Yeah, also Ash is able to make the rotations early with the Pangolier, so I don't think it's going to be too bad. It's going to be one of those kind of tradey lanes, but there definitely is kill threat in that mid lane coming in from Han, so have to be careful on the Pango not to overuse your Swashbuckle and your Shield Crash. Because if you get caught out without any movement abilities, he can kind of just run you down with like Forge Spirits and a Cold Snap.
For now, though, he's still just chilling. Got the first level in Wex on this Invoker. And the first couple of waves should be fine for both of them. We'll see how things shape out a little bit later. And down bottom, we do see one of the reasons why they pick up this Jakiro. SJ just getting constant harass out onto Sheep. And Jakiro harasses kind of something else. It's kind of spectacular. And the hero is so tanky, like, you can actually go face check into heroes like the Death Prophet, especially if she wastes a Spirit Siphon on you, you're like, oh, sweet, awesome. But if she's not Spirit Siphoning, you can just do this stuff all day and make so much space for this SF to farm very safely behind this here on tower.
Yeah, and this is the reason why I was, you know, maybe hoping we could see a little bit more of this offlane Jakiro just because these stats are so good. SJ might be in a little bit of an awkward spot. They do have the shards to block off some of his movement, but they won't go for it. But yeah, it's just one of those heroes that just has some really good stats. His turn rate is absolutely Garbonzo though, so it's a little bit hard to try and play some of these fights. Just feels like you're trying to turn a Mack truck half the time. But outside of that, his spells are amazing, and it's going to be very unfortunate for Supernova if they get caught.
They are going to be going for this quick kill onto SJ now though, so they're like, well, let's see how good your stats are, mate, and that's what we're talking about. You Spirit Siphon him, he still has so much HP, and look, a nice water rune in front of him. He's going to grab the bottom water rune. Ash grabs the top one, denying either of them away from Han. Okay, so in a weird way, them even chasing him works out even better. In the top lane, though, they're going to be chasing down Dolem, looking for the first blood, and they will find it. Shola on this Abaddon, getting the final right click out. And we're starting to see one of the reasons why this Vengeful Spirit also fell off. Not only does she remain squishy in the mid game, but her laning phase prowess is not particularly strong. And the off lane right now feels like one of those sides of the map that you need to get off to a positive start every single game.
Yeah, and that's why it's always scary when you have this Vengeful Spirit who's not been able to win the lane. But Chola might get a return kill here, so Tax or Dolem's able to pick that one up. So that's a nice little start here for the Venge. She does have really good stats and really good stat gain. So once these levels start to come in for Tax, he's going to be okay here on the Vengeful Spirit. The biggest thing for me is this Aghanim Scepter timing, because you want to make sure that you get this at a good timing, because otherwise this hero feels really bad. And if you're walking into these fights where you're trying to walk into a Monkey King and all these other heroes, then if you don't have that second life, you're just going to feed.
Yep. Well, the top mid side of the map is going to be much easier for the Venge because they managed to glimpse back the Abaddon as you're TPing in. So it's going to be a 1v2 for at least 2 waves here. That's going to be nice. Down bottom, the CSJ just continuing to do normal Jakiro things. With the dual breath out though, they might try to go for a kill. Nice dodge on the raises. There's only going to be 2 of them. And now with this ice shards, will they try to make the positive progression onto Ukyo? They will not. They're just happy to zone him back. But That snowball definitely keeps Sheep alive there. If you get hit with the triple raise, you're definitely dead, but only the double ends up being able to walk away safely.
Yeah, triple raise is pretty nasty, especially at level 2. So them being able to play around with that. So Sheep so far has been doing a good job at trying to make this lane playable for his Death Prophet, but it's still a lot on the shoulders of this Tusk to be able to get a lot of these team fights going their way. Like, you basically have Boundless Strike and Snowball. Maybe Han can have this crazy big game where he's going this, Quads Wex Invoker, and he's just built all this control and he just runs in, tornadoes literally everybody, and everything feels all cool, and it's like a highlight video. But just having all of these simply heroes for iG.V just makes their game plan simpler, and it makes it so easy for them to punish any mistakes because almost everybody has some way of stun or slow.
Yeah. There's a lot of control available on their roster. So if they can utilize these spells in tandem with one another, it does feel like the team fights become very difficult for Supernova to take, even with the Evotic Shield behind them as backup. So right now the lanes just go and chill. Bottom lane, not the best time in the world so far for Shen, as this Death Prophet hasn't been enjoying her time too much, but you're playing from the off lane. You're not expecting to get off to a roaring start on this hero anymore.
Yeah, especially with some of the nerfs to some of her items, to some of her stats, that it just feels bad to be able to play some of these lanes. I think Shadow Fiend is also one of those heroes that really can abuse her because you play just outside of the range of Spirit Siphon most of the time with your long ranges and your medium raises, so she can't abuse you whenever you're trying to go for a lot of these last hits. And Necromaster is always good to just continue the CS war, but up top, DQQ.
Might be a little bit it's fine. Has glimpse behind him. He's chilled. Mid, I must say Ashe is doing a pretty good job here on this Pangolier, despite never having availability of mana, not being outstripped in the CS department by any stretch of the imagination. So doing a pretty decent job keeping up with this Invoker. Will be ready with Rolling Thunder in the event that a rotation is needed, and he might have to go bottom right now. As Ukyo is being dove upon. They do have access to this tag team with the Spirit Siphon. Do they have the damage? One more right click will do it, and indeed they do. Sheep will go down in the opposite direction from SJ, but that's a trade they'll take any day of the week. Slowing down this SF, who was top CS leader just before he died, always feels very good, especially if the kill itself does end up going the way of the Death Prophet, and indeed it did.
Yeah, and especially with the experience going the way of the Death Prophet as well, so she's going to be able to get to Exorcism in no time. So talking about some of the rotations, I was hoping to see a rotation from Ashe in the mid lane with the Power Rune, but did just have to go back to base there and deal with the Power Rune as well. So not going to be able to make that early rotation.
Woo! They did rotate the Tusk to the top lane though. Sheep opting to leave the Death Prophet a little bit alone. Ice Park catches 2 heroes. Look at this Pangolier go in right now. That was good initiation from SJ, followed up by this Rolling Thunder. There is no choice for this Monkey King to go anywhere as they end up getting the kill onto him. SJ collects it, but that move, that Ice Path, man, that was just brilliantly done. And unfortunately for them, because they'd already brought Sheep over, they knew that the snowball was going to be down, so they had the option of getting the full connection without any salvation being possible.
Yeah, they also knew the Aphotic Shield was on cooldown as well, so just being able to constantly run at the Monkey King is nice. So iG.V, it's kind of what I talked about with the heroes, is their heroes are just so simple at making a lot of these rotations. Rolling Thunder is not hard to hit when you've got 3 supports, or quote-unquote supports around you. The Vengeful Spirit having a lot of those good stunning abilities early on. So it's a nice little start for them, but this just means that they're able to make the rotation towards the bottom side, and unfortunately for Ukyo, he just goes down again on the Shadow Fiend.
Second death on the SF so far in this game. And we had the Monkey King Winter to thank for that one, getting that kill. So they'll be able to apply some pressure towards bottom. They don't have level 6 just yet on the Death Prophet, so if they can just clear this wave, get the level 6, find the Exorcism, that'll enable them to push down the tower, and that's indeed what they do. Don't think there's anybody on the side of iG.V interested in coming over to help defend this. Instead, they might be trying to force a fight. Oh, Dota? Dota 2 still in beta, all right. Cold Snap with some double damage hits go out onto this Jakiro, but they don't manage to kill him just yet. Snowball will follow Ashe onto the high ground. You thought he was going to escape with the swashbuckle, but it turns out not to be the case. Weird interaction. You deny it, and then the Invoker still gets the DD. What can you do? And now DP can still show up with access to the Ghost. They get the Tornado connection onto the Jakiro as well. So his impact not going to be felt in this game, at least in this particular fight. They're gonna get 2 towers in the span of a minute, 2 core kills in the span of a minute, and both of their cores in the DP and Invoker getting involved in the action on both sides. This feels very good for Supernova all of a sudden.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I talked about with iG.V's draft is they still need some time for their heroes to come online, right? Like they need a little bit of time before Tax can do stuff. Yukio is a Shadow Fiend, so he's going to be having to hit crits for a long time. Maybe if they can kill Chen here, this could be big for them.
Rolling Thunder will get the connection here.
Oh,
Do they have the damage? They get the
no.
swap. Oh no, they missed the swashbuckle as well. And now Spirit Siphons are up. Nice 2-hero Ice Path, but here comes Shola as well, just to make sure they get zoned away. They need to watch out on Ash, they doesn't get silenced. We'll get to the far side of the fight. Not sure if SJ will be so lucky. Sheep has access to the snowball again in 5 seconds. They opt not to go for that chase because here they rotate in with Han as well. So somehow, even though they managed to keep their heroes alive, they don't get any counter kills themselves. Felt like they were a little bit disconnected as to who to focus, but they might still pick up this Jakiro nonetheless. SJ in a very awkward position. Han is the one that gets the kill, justifying the rotation to the top side of the map.
Yeah, Han has been all around right now, and I said there was going to be a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and he's doing a really, really good job. Going to go back for the Midas after the Urn, what we've seen a decent amount of right now, and just means that he's able to continue to scale. One of the issues that I've had with Invokers recently is it kind of just feels like they get like their 1 or 2 items. They get like Urn +1, and then they literally just don't do anything for like 30 minutes, and then it gets to late game and they've got like 1 extra item, and they just are not scaling into late game like you would kind of expect Invokers, right? Because kind of the good thing about Invoker is you go Quaz Wex and then you're able to go back into Exort, and then that's when your, spells do a whole lot of damage and you scale as this kind of hard-hitting core. But yeah, it's not been the case so far in Tax. He doesn't have access to the Ags just yet.
Oh, does have the swap
SJ
though. So he's gonna maybe doom SJ's life for this one. Ice Path will be out. Jakiro, fairly tanky hero, and they're bringing in all the reinforcements. Magic Missile onto Chen. 2-hero Rolling Thunder connects onto them as well. There is a kinetic field that's buying them a little bit of time after the snowball. And let's see, will they get themselves out of this? Glimpse back onto this Ghost Death Prophet. The Ghost will not heal her up in time, so she will end up going down. Unfortunately, though, the reinforcements from Supernova ensure that they get 2 in the opposite direction. Will they be able to get more? Shola, he's on the forward-facing part of this fight because he has access to borrow time. Han doesn't want to dive too deeply. So that's a 2-for-1 exchange in the top lane. Offlaner plus support for 1 offlaner. Spirit Siphon, what a spell. Spirit Siphon plus Snowball, even better.
Yeah, it's really hard for them to commit onto the DP without having to deal with the Tusk first. And the biggest thing for me is Tax goes down again. Like, Venge going down is not what you want. He is ahead on net worth of the Death Prophet, so Chen's not kind of snowballing out of control. But the biggest thing for me is they need to hit this item timing for the Ags +1. If they're able to utilize Ash with the Pangolier as soon as that Ag Scepter's up, they can just keep going. And I think that's going to be something that they can really abuse in a lot of these fights. And if they hit it early enough on the Vengeful Spirit, then that means that there's going to be no BKBs coming out for Winter. There's going to be no BKB for Han. So they can just constantly abuse these, Wave of Terrors and the Magic Missiles and allowing the SF to do damage. So maybe just take the foot off the pedal for a little bit here for iG.V.
Oh, check this out. Speaking of Winter, on this Monkey King, he's building into a Radiance. So not going to be one of those Battle Fury games, not an Echo Saber Deso game, going all in on the Rads play. I suppose when you know that the SF is going to be the primary right clicker and a huge source of their damage, if you can get on top of him and you have Rads, then he's not necessarily able to force you out of Wukongs, and it's going to take a while before he gets MKB, but still a somewhat interesting choice for this Monkey King. Not going to make any tank here either, so this hero can still die.
Yeah, I thought maybe if you wanted to try and go for a little bit of a farming item, you'd just go like Battle Fury on Monkey, considering he's had a pretty good start. But maybe Radiance Ags is the way to go here for Winter. They do have a lot of tanky heroes to play around with. DQQ, they're going to try and kill Chen at the top lane.
I don't know about this one. He has access to the mech, so we'll end up popping it. They go in with the Rolling Thunder, and this is the thing. Damage is not really their forte until a little bit later. And Pango, trying to get himself away from this Invoker, won't be able to do so. Winter rotates in as well. And this Monkey King drops down the Wukongs just to ensure they get the kill. That's 2 heroes removed from play. They still defend their tier 1 tower in the top lane. In fact, we are now 13 minutes in. They haven't lost a single tower just yet on the side of Supernova. And it looks like they're about to claim the tier 1 tower top as well, as they do have access to Exorcism Ghosts. Chen will pop them. Shola will tank up the tier 1 tower. So that's more map control right now on for the side of Supernova.
Yeah, and I thought seeing them in front of a tier 2 meant they'd had secured that top tier 1 tower, but they dove so deep for that, and diving deep onto a Death Prophet as well. Maybe if Ash was closer with the Pangolier, you could have tried and got some of the chains done, but they missed out on the ice path. They didn't have the damage between their two supports, and the Pango just wasn't there in time. And by the time that Ash had rolled through, you already saw the reinforcements coming in from Supernova. So a little bit of overextension from iG.V, but they still have their two main cores farming. They still have Yukio as well as Tax, just hitting away at creeps, getting to a point where they can start to scale and look good. I'm interested to see how much aggression is going to turn up for iG.V when they do get this Aghanim Scepter, because that's kind of the end-all and be-all of this offlane bench is going to be the Ag Scepter, right? And just going into a team fight, winning it off the back of having the second life on Venge, and just seeing if you can win by sheer amount of numbers.
Speaking of numbers, we've got a new record here today, Fluke. Winter, this Monkey King, has now just set a new world record for the fastest item timing on Radiance. Previous record was Monet at 15 minutes, 55 seconds. He got his at about 14:47. So some good stuff that we're seeing out of this MK. Gonna be incredibly farmed if he keeps this pace up. Top net worth at the moment. Only hero that's even close is the Invoker. This SF that we see farming away in the top lane is quite far off the pace on Ukyo. And I think a lot of this is the buildings that they've gotten out of this game. So much additional gold on top of getting a couple of kill involvements. As well, Ukyo and the gang, they're still looking for their first tier 1. They should be able to find the top one, but look at the commitment that they need. 4 heroes are situated in the top lane to make this tower happen.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the Disruptor and Jakiro, they're two supports that really don't care all too much about getting any item timing, so they're more than happy to just kind of sit behind their Shadow Fiend and hope that he can get a little bit of gold on the map for them. And now with Ash picking up this Diffusal Blade, maybe this might be the damage profile they need, but he's getting caught out by Han, so they just don't have the extra bit of stuns to catch out Ash there. So he's able to get away and provide them a little bit more space, but space is starting to slowly dwindle away. Like, as you said, Winter with this Radiance, he's going to hit his next item in maybe a minute or two. It's going to be the BKB. So it looks like they want to fight early on, and Tax still a couple hundred gold away from this Ag Scepter.
Really struggling so far on this Vengeful Spirit. They might try to trigger a fight here from iG.V. I think they've seen now that this Monkey King is top, so they won't be able to join in middle, but Supernova also realized the same thing. They back away from playing this mid area. iG.V will smoke up. They're heading into their jungle. They know that they have the numbers advantage here. Glimpse back onto Chen, and Chen in a world of trouble here, but there's the snowball to help give some time and space. Will they be able to get off the Spirit Siphon? No, not yet. There's going to be the Rolling Thunder still connecting. This Death Prophet finally ends up getting brought down. Tusk follows her into the grave. And she popped the Ghost for this one as well, Fluke. So that means it's a double win. No Exorcism and no Death Prophet. Even if they don't get anything more out of this fight, they'll certainly count it as a massive W in the Radiant jungle.
Yeah, and they did that, you know, without having this high ground vision. They did have a ward towards the bottom side here to get this glimpse coming off, but as you said, big committal coming in from Supernova, and this is what I talked about with them just not having the stuns on their supports, right? Like, you had to use the snowball to save people and the tornado to create space, and then that's it. Everybody else can just walk through this map, and it's just going to get harder and harder for you because it's going to get to a point where iG.V is just going to have more and more items. Now they've hit the Ag Scepter on the Venge, they can just keep doing that. And if Supernova have to constantly keep using this snowball to save out on Chen, then they just don't have any way of stunning any of these heroes and catching them out, and then you're just going to have free reign on a Pango, you can have free reign on a Shadow Fiend, and if they're able to just keep these stuns rolling for SF, then Yukio is just going to stand there and just blow people to pieces.
They very desperately need this Blink Dagger on Sheep. They also need BKB on Chen, and I'm actually kind of shocked that he's building into the Pipe of Insight instead. I feel like if he has BKB that last fight, they don't even need to use the snowball to save him. Just pop BKB, Ghost, siphon a hero or two, but going for the bit more of the outskill play here. If they can elongate the fight long enough with this Pipe of Insight, then it'll seem quite genius, but we shall see, because BKB could have some really high value in this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate to see BKB either. I think it just means that you don't have to deal with like Rolling Thunder, which is like, you can't really get snowball saves from Rolling Thunder just because it just constantly runs through. Yeah, you can get saved by like an easy ice path into like Magic Missile, but the game's just going to get harder and harder, and it's not like the Rolling Thunder is going to be going anywhere soon. So yeah, I think that BKB is a fair shout. Big thing for me is now that Tax has picked up the Ag Scepter, just going into the regular kind of builds that you've seen from Vengeful Spirits, right? You just get the Ag Shard in towards the Aether Lens, and she's going to be a menace in these team fights, man. Like, the bouncing Magic Missile, oh, okay. Mid lane, though.
You were speaking about menaces. Shola, unfortunately, found himself, he was in the river. He triggered borrow time too soon. So he pressed R.
Oh.
So by the time he came back, he didn't actually have the borrow time to withstand the onslaught of damage between these two heroes. And it's one thing if it's like a Death Prophet, a Monkey King who are standing against these heroes. If it's just a lowly Abaddon who's level 8 right now, has already used borrow time, yeah, he is not going to survive whatsoever. Not tanky at all.
Yeah. It's not going to be a fun time, but circling back to what I was saying with the Ag Shard, like the bouncing Magic Missile, these heroes don't have BKBs, then you can't utilize the spells that you need to, the limited amount of spells that you need to get on top of these heroes to get these kills. So I like the way that Tax is building down, understanding that it's all about just keeping this Vengeance Aura up for the Shadow Fiend, as well as just kind of throwing out as many Magic Missiles as possible. And I like that he's gone for the Magic Missile talents as well. I'd imagine he's probably going to go to the cooldown here. The -2 wave armor can be pretty big, but I think if he's just spamming out these basically 400 damage nukes with like 800 range, it's going to be very, very hard for them to deal with 2 and 4 every couple of seconds.
They're trying to force a fight right now. They're going in onto this young sheep Tusk. They're going to snowball forward onto where the Jakiro is. Gets followed up by Nova. As they come in, Monkey King pops the Wukong's command. Will they be able to at least bring down Dolem here? Tax trying to run himself away. He does have Ag, so he's still going to be useful in the fight here often. There's going to be the Magic Missile. It bounces between the Death Prophet and the Monkey King. They swap the DP back. She did get out the Ghost, but the Requiem Static Storm combination right on top of her face will end up bringing her down. She is dead, 40 seconds in the grave, and yet again, Ghosts were popped. And now they have a clear path towards taking the Tier 1 tower middle. And more than that, Fluke, afterwards, they could make a quick trip into the Roshan pit, knowing they don't have to worry about neither Wukongs nor the Exorcism. Let's see how Supernova approach this. They jump in, Sheep going for the Disruptor, trying to make sure that they get the quick kill. Not going to be able to do so in time. They do have the Urn down on them. There's the Sunstrike. It does connect. Han on a dominating streak. And he popped the BKB to avoid dying or getting himself into an awkward position against this Venge. But there's going to be Ash from the low ground. Huge swashbuckle to bring down this Abaddon. They will not be denied. They want this Tier 1 tower come hell or high water, and they are going to get it.
Yeah, just not being able to get too much out of the BKBs, right? You know, we saw Winter pop his BKB, Han popped his BKB. They get the kill onto the Disruptor, but that's about it, right? And that's not what you really want when you're constantly getting these cores run in towards your face. And we're just seeing the issues that they're having with their team comp, that the fact that they just don't have good ways of starting these fights. They're able to roll in onto DQQ in the start of that fight from Sheep, but that's all it is. You just have to try and hope that you're tanky enough to run through these engagements. And that's why, you know, when I saw the Abaddon plus Monkey King combination, I knew that one of them had to be a support, and they were going to run lacking on a bit of this lockdown. And fortunately for Supernova, they just had too many issues they had to try and figure out with their draft, and now they are starting to feel the pain when it comes to not being able to start a fight or continue a fight. Everybody's been in that situation at home where it feels so annoying. It feels so demoralizing just watching people walk away and you not be able to commit and get these kills.
They're going to commit right now into Shola, swapping him back here. There's going to be the borrow time, but Wukong's command triggered out here by Winter. Winter closing in onto Yukio, who's going to get hit out by the Sunstrike. Ice Shot sets him up. Han finishes off the kill. It is a quick 1-for-1 as they've only lost a Tusk in exchange for this. Glimpse back. We see Winter, he's in a bad position. Rolling Thunder not going to connect onto him. Instead, they may be going on to Chen, but he's already gotten off some of these Spirit Siphons, so he's a very poor target. Jump in from Winter, Bounder Strike catches both supports. They get the damage enough to kill SJ. Tornado lifts Disruptor into the air, and they're looking to try to bring him down. Sunstrike, will it connect? Not this time. But he's being chased, being stalked like a piece of prey, and here's the Predator. It is the Winter Monkey King who's just gotten himself a double kill. Ash, who just got himself BKB, might be forced to die regardless of having this item. Dolem getting the swap back to try and buy him space and time. And they do have the ghost out yet again. Unfortunately, the damage is going to be there because BKB goes down. Cold Snap cancels out the TP. That is yet another death. Dolem's illusion is going to die too. And Supernova, they come onto the scene like a supernova, bursting onto iG.Vitality, finding themselves a teamfight win, and they're the ones now threatening the Roshan instead.
Yeah, Tax needs to relax on the swaps, I think. I think some of those swaps definitely have not been it. Swapping an Abaddon and forcing out borrowed time is hard for you, because if you're not able to keep Yukio into a good position with the Nether swap, then this team fight goes bad for you. And that's exactly what happened there for iG.V is they got over aggressive with the swap. They didn't have it to save that Yukio. He gets stuck by the R shards, blown up, doesn't have a way of getting back into the fight. So it's a little hard for them to play around with their Shadow Fiend's life if he's the one that's about half HP. So maybe try and hold on towards that Nether swap a little bit longer here, unless you do see something along the lines of like a Death Prophet who's completely out of reach from their teammates, and that might be the play to go. But as soon as you hit that Nether swap, that just forces Supernova to continue this fight, to start the fight. And when you're just running at them like that, you don't really need all too many stuns for that one.
Oh, the illusion.
Guys, smoke didn't break.
It sort of broke, so it was weird because it broke on one hero because Chola was here de-warding. So I think they got confused, right? Because they see the illusion on the left-hand side of the steps, Chola's on the right, planting a sentry ward. So they're like, oh, surely this is the real hero. Nope, nope, nope. Game is hard. And even though Shola dies, I mean, whatever. It's an Abaddon. It's chilled. You're going to lose a tier 1 tower, but also, you know, if I'm losing tier 1 dire side on bottom at 25 minutes, whatever. Don't really care.
Yeah, not the end of the world. Not all too surprised about that. And you can see now, Tax has the Eye of the Vizier. Does he have the Aether Lens, or is he actually changing his mind completely? It looks like he's changed his mind completely and wants to go towards... What is that?
He's getting Wraith Pact, I think. Yeah.
Is this item good? I feel like it's still bad.
Good
Crimson Guard.
There's games I've seen where it looks pretty good, but for the most part, it's a very niche item. And I think, given the damage types coming out on the other side, you know, we've got this Monkey King who's rolling around, Invoker doing a ton of magic damage at this point. We've got this DP who's doing a lot of damage with Spirit Siphon. I am not sure that this is a Wraith Pact game. But we shall see this next fight, how it all pans out. There is going to be the bouncing magic missile. They force out the borrowed time. Winter thinking about it, who to go on, but he jumps into the stun. Unfortunately, they don't have enough to quickly blow him up. So now we're jumping on the backside of the fight. Sheep able to find out this Shadow Fiend. They force out the BKB charge out of him. And this Tusk is still alive. Wukong's command will get dropped down. Most of the BKB duration was wasted trying to deal with this Tusk. Now we see the swap out to try and save Ukio's life, but he's still being stuck on by this Monkey King who manages to blow him up. And unfortunately for Dolem, he'll follow him into the grave. They take down the illusion as well for some bonus gold. Ash is doing his best with these swashbuckles, but there's a limited amount you can accomplish on this hero at this point. And with 2 cores down, a wave already close to the tier 2 tower, I think they're going to try and force this one out. Ash doesn't do a good job of clearing out the wave, but there's still, I don't think there's any way to dissuade them completely from pushing down the tier 2 on top.
Yeah, especially with the wave clear they have. Oh, Winter. Okay. I was going to say, like, I'm not quite sure if Winter wants to go in on that, but he's a big boy. This Monkey King is at a point now where he is very, very scary. They only have 1 Force staff right now. Yeah, they've only got 1 Force. So they really have a good way of keeping Yukio away from the Monkey King. And there was a point there where I thought maybe they can just commit onto the MK. Didn't pop his BKB, was holding on to it. And Taxon and Yukio just kind of let him be in the Static Storm. They had, you know, a few more things on their attention at that point, but not being able to commit onto the Monkey King, forcing him to BKB at such low HP, then fall back and regroup after BKB plus Wukong's command has been done. And right now it just feels like Supernova, they're just team fighting better than iG.V are, I think. I think the way that they're walking up, they're able to abuse the fact that they're a Abaddon, can kind of just walk up high ground, pop his ulti, and then they can just start a fight on some other place of the map. And Han and Winter are playing really, really well here. I think they are definitely carrying hard for Supernova, and they're putting themselves into a really good position that now with the Aegis, it almost ags up on Ash. Like, I mean, ags up on Winter. I don't know how they're supposed to win these next couple of fights, because I don't see how they're killing Monkey.
Yep. MK is gonna be picking up this Aghanims fairly shortly. His farm is also out of this world. Like 19,000 net worth. He's 5k up basically on the next, or 4k up on the Shadow Fiend, 7k up on this Pangolier, and just clearly the strongest hero on the map. He's getting the Alacrity. Oh, Sheep just jumps in. They force out this Static Storm. They glimpse back the Monkey King. Okay, maybe a little bit aggressive there from the Tusk. He doesn't have the Aghanim Scepter, so can't even get the kickback. Not entirely sure what that one was about, but they'll be grateful on the side of iG.V. Not only do they get to kill the Tusk, but they get to protect their tier 2 tower as a result of this.
So they at least hold on to some part of the map. Tax has gone back for the Aetherlands now. I mean, I don't hate it. I would have liked it a little earlier. 29 minutes just with an Aetherlands Axe on your offlane Vengeful Spirit. That feels pretty bad. Not gonna lie. It feels pretty rough. Like usually when you see this Vengeful Spirit come in as a core, you wanted to have like 2 or 3 items at this point, right? Like you're sitting there and you're like, am I just a glorified position 5? Kind of. Until she starts building small auras, and at that point maybe it might be a little bit of a bridge too far gone, because you're kind of just expecting Yukio to do all the damage. Ash is doing a good job with the Rolling Thunder, but if your Venge isn't able to, you know, abuse Swap and abuse Magic Missile, then Yukio is just going to be the full attention of Winter.
And right now nobody wants the attention of Winter. You'd rather hope you pretend you don't exist. Just fight literally elsewhere.
Just be like, Mr. Monkey King, I left you alone for the first 2 minutes of the game. You can leave me alone for the last.
Exactly. Come on, man. Let's have a deal. Trade offer. One thing that makes this game even more difficult is DQQ, this disruptor, not going to have access to the Aghanim Scepter for quite some time. And Jakiro, at some point, just stops scaling in terms of your progression as that hero. So no Philly Stone either. Ha! You gotta do it the old-fashioned way, fam. They might smoke up though and try and force a fight now that he has forced off. And they're posturing like they want to do it, but we already see the smoke from Supernova coming in. Who's the priority target do you think it should be right now for Supernova?
Supernova, I think they just want to put all their attention on Yukio. Just force him to be, even if you don't kill him, if you can just force him to BKB at a weird spot that he has to walk back, he can't re-aggress into the fight with that BKB. And it's down at 6 seconds now, and I think Winter can just passively kill everybody around him if they just put all their attention on Yukio. It's going to be a big fight.
Could be a big fight indeed. Oh, the Boundless Strike onto the SF as well as the Jakiro. Yukio does manage to get off the BKB, and they blow up Sheep in the opposite direction. But it does get off the BKB charge. He is now resolutely down to 6 seconds and 80 seconds on cooldown for the spell, or for the item rather. That boundless was huge, but they couldn't. That's one of the drawbacks of their drop that you've been mentioning.
Yeah.
Their lack of follow-up. They can't quickly get to the fight. So even if Sheep finds a very good catch, until he gets the Aghanim Scepter and can reposition them himself, they always going to be reliant on hoping that they can blow them up in a second or two. Otherwise, there is still some turnaround potential.
Yeah, Han was just a little bit too far behind to be able to follow up as well. He has a Sheep Stick as well for him, so the lack of control is starting to slowly be alleviated for them. I wouldn't hate to see like a shard coming in from Winter. It's kind of one of those things that see Chrysalis build a lot on Team Secret on Monkey King, just to be able to allow him to, if he gets those big boundless strikes, you can kind of just pull yourself towards them, and then that's where you're able to get these fights going for you. Because if the Monkey King just goes in, pops his BKB, he's on top of 2 heroes already. Yeah, he gets static stormed, but he's able to slowly start putting his soldiers down, and then that just forces you to fight around this kind of corner, and you don't have that disengage that, you know, Yukio was able to have.
Got some new items that just streamed in. Ukio, speaking of the man himself, just finished off a Silver Edge for himself, so would have preferred the Daedalus potentially, but Break is still a pretty good mechanic. Some more mobility is decent enough as well. They're going to actually try and reveal this item in a fight here. They smoke up as 5, going on a little bit of an adventure. Roshan is up, so if they can find a pick or two, they can stream into the Roshan pick and grab the Aegis as a reward. But they don't have any progressive vision on the other side of the map here, Fluke, so I don't think they're going to find anything off the back of this one.
Yeah, they are just trying to sniff out Han, but I think Han kind of understands what's going on right now. There has been vision towards the Radiant base as well for Supernova, and they can just see that nobody's on the map, so they're very, very cautious, understanding that if they get caught out, then it's going to be hard for them to fight as well. But good game sense there from Supernova. They understand that they're ahead right now, and all they need to avoid is getting caught out from a big team fight, because iG.V, if they're the ones that are on the front foot, they've got a lot of initiation, they've got a lot of stuns trying to play around with. And if Supernova start these fights, 4v5 early on, like lose Han, lose Winter, then these fights get very scary for them.
Supernova right now, they're gonna smoke themselves, see if they can find anything. So both squads end up just trying to scout out if the opponent is inside the Roshan pit. Winter, he has the haste rune heading up on the high ground. Ash, oh no, that's the reveal of the Hex from the Invoker. Ash very unhappy about that one, dies and does have buyback. But here's where they just go immediately into the Roshan pit. I mean, I don't know if they can give up an Aegis shot here. What do you think, Fluke? Should they buy back and try to contest this?
Well, they are smoked up. They haven't fought back just yet on Ash. They obviously want to try and contest this. It's going to be hard for them to do it.
All right, they go on to Chen first. He doesn't have the BKB just yet, so there's going to be the Requiem combination. They blow up Sheep first and foremost. Static Storm preventing any further spells from the DP, so she dies too. Only one buyback available on this Tusk. And they force out a fairly early BKB from Winter. So he pops the Wukongs right now. Can they go back onto Ukyo? Ukyo is inside the Wukong, taking so much damage. Gets brought down by a Sunstrike. His team didn't back him up. There was no swap to save him. They just run him down. And speaking of swap, we see that this DP almost goes down to the Invoker. She manages to stay alive. Jakiro buys back though. Bounder Strike misses in its entirety, so there can't be further chase coming in as they go in with the Rolling Thunder from Ash. She's going past these monkeys, clones, and they're actually doing a decent amount of damage. Comes off the tree just before it gets destroyed. You realize you can't progress further in this fight. So they back off right now on iG.V. Supernova, they're about to get the Death Prophet back online. So they still have the numerical advantage as she will be back before the SF is. And there's no more ultimates to fight the Roshan pit with.
Yeah, that was really weird coming in from Ukyo. Like, you know that you'd popped the BKB from Winter. You know the BKB had been popped from Han as well. You already killed the Death Prophet. You'd already killed Sheep. You just need to back off. You just need to back off, reset. You don't have to push the envelope all too much. You got yourself some pretty big kills. If you're able to just kind of push them naturally out of the Roshan pit, then you can take Roche for yourself and try and play around the BKBs that you kept alive. But Ukyo just 4-staffs in, goes to try and fight the Monkey King, pops Wukong's command, and just gets absolutely obliterated. And then the game's like, then the fight's over because like you have no damage left for iG.V. Like this is what we talked about in our first series today with the Shadow Fiends. Is it's all about them, and Ukyo going in trying to kind of drag this game back for his team just got punished super hard, and that's kind of not what you want to see if you're an iG.V fan, because you can just tell that Ukyo understands that this game is all about him, and sometimes you try and grab the game by the balls, and sometimes it kicks back.
One of the few positive things that we've seen in this game is we have seen that whenever they're able to grab this Death Prophet, she's normally been the forward-facing member on the side of Supernova, and she can die fairly quickly because of the Static Storm Requiem. But now that's not happening anymore. She now has BKB at long last. BKB, Greaves, Pipe. Yeah, I don't think Chen is dying again in this game. I think he's had enough of it. Like, he got tired of being in the fountain. Oh, and the big swap back middle. Hell, can they actually kill Winter in time? They're going for the full combination, but they get off the BKB. It's not enough damage here, Fluke. They've already gotten 2 kills. SF on the high ground inside of the BKB gets 4-star past the ice shots as Chen is just solo zoning back this Disruptor. And they will get broken, but there's the BKB charge coming out of Chen just to make sure he can escape outside the base. Wait for these ghosts to finish. They'll replenish their HP. In the meantime, use the remainder of their duration to start threatening this high ground. Tier 3 towers looking like they might fall soon. And they didn't even pop the Aegis. Ukyo thought he had enough damage with the Requiem combo and some right clicks, but turns out not to be enough.
Yeah, it was cute. It was actually a really cute play. I thought it was sick, the way they were able to utilize the Ice Path and the swap. But I mean, you're doing all that for an Aegis. And even if you do use Requiem and all that kind of stuff and you're able to eventually kill the Monkey King, you just can't really do anything else, you know? Like, the fight's kind of over at that point and there's not really much that you can do, so it's what it is. At the end of the day, you had to try and pull something out of the bag, and now they're losing 2 lanes of rack, probably going to lose a 3rd as well. Tax. They're trying something. He's not able to get it done.
The thing that also sucks is that the way that this game has been going for Venge can't really have an influence on this fight. The Sheep jumps in directly onto the Shadow Fiend. They're forcing him back here. Because Supernova, they just want the Megas, and then they'll try to get the hell out of dodge. Sheep does get glimpsed back into a swap play, so that should be a dead Tusk. They do come in for some revenge, though. Boundless Strike catches on the 2. There's the BKB coming in from Winter.